and welcome to Swan Lake Lifestyle. My name is Olivia. I'm a lifelong ballerina and author of 10 Ballet Stories, which is available at Barnes & Noble. Today I have an exciting video for you all about how to sew your pointe shoes. So even if you have very basic sewing skills, don't worry, this tutorial is going to go into everything that you need to know as well as all the supplies. So go ahead and get cozy and let's go ahead and get into the video. I'll share some of the tools that I use to sew ribbons and elastic onto my pointe shoes. So I usually have some sort of like a pen or marker to make lines on the elastic. I also, of course, need, I was going to call it string, but thread, some sort of thread, a needle, and then this is optional, but I like to have this needle threader, which this is a really cool gadget if you haven't seen this before. It's really handy for threading your needle if you're not good at poking the thread through the eye of the needle. We have the elastic, of course, and then we also have ribbons. So let me go ahead and get the ribbons out. So these are flex ribbons to help prevent tendinitis. And I like these because if you use a traditional, just like flat ribbon with no stretch to it, it can be kind of annoying when you're going on pointe because it won't like move with the movement of your foot. But these are stretchy, so they will go ahead and move with you, which is fantastic. So everyone kind of has their own take on things, and it's really a fun way to really personalize your shoes. And I think that's something really unique to ballet, is how much you can customize your experience. Okay, now let's get into the sewing process. As a kid, I actually spent summers at the library taking needlepoint classes from senior citizens, so I'm pretty handy with a needle and thread, and I'm excited to show you some tips and share some advice on big mistakes for you to avoid making. Speaking of which, a very important first disclaimer: do not cut the little drawstrings at the top of your pointe shoes. I actually made that mistake once, and it completely ruined the pair. The drawstrings help keep the shoe snug on your foot, so just tie them neatly into little bows and tuck them inside the shoe when you wear them. Now, the longer these are, the easier they are to tuck in and stay hidden, so please don't snip them. Now let's prepare the elastics. You'll need 2 pieces, one for each shoe. A really easy way to measure is by using the elastics from your flat shoes as a guide. Just cut the same length, but leave 1/2 inch to 1 inch extra of elastic at each end. That extra space is important because you'll need room for sewing. Next, it's time to figure out placement. I recommend you put your pointe shoe on with your toe pads on as well because they can make a difference, and then hold the elastic in place with your fingers and see how tight or loose it feels before committing to an elastic placement. Now, once you figure out where you want your elastics to go, I like to use a pen to mark both the elastic and the inside of the shoe where I'll be sewing. If you don't want to use a pen, you can use safety pins to hold the elastic in place. It really just depends on what you're most comfortable with. Now let's thread the needle. Make sure to leave about 3 inches of thread on one side of the needle so it doesn't come loose. If threading is tricky for you, a needle threader is super helpful. Anyway, once you thread your needle, you want to make sure to tie a knot on the long end of the string. This will help keep the thread in place so that it won't slip through. And now it's finally time to sew. So go ahead and place the elastic where you marked it, or sew above the safety pin. Now make sure that you always start from the inside of the shoe. This way your knot will be hidden and it won't show from the outside. Another big disclaimer: only sew along the seam that's already there, the one that's right below the drawstring. This part is really important. You do not want to sew through the drawstring itself. That will also ruin the shoe and you'll have to start all over. Now, if you're brand new to sewing, don't worry, I'll show you slowly. All you're doing is poking the needle from the inside to the outside, then back from the outside to the inside. And make sure that you do this in a pattern that's straight along the line of the seam. Do not try to sew too far down or it will show on the satin. It's also easier to sew along the seam that's already there and keeps everything looking pretty. Anyway, make sure that you sew all the way across the width of the elastic. For extra security, you can actually do one more pass across the elastic back to where you came from. When you're finished, poke the needle through to the inside of the shoe, tie a few knots, and clip the excess string. And then you're done with this shoe, and you can go ahead and repeat all the same steps for the second shoe. Next up are the ribbons. If you're using pre-cut ribbons with built-in elastic, like the ones from Gaynor Minden, just make sure to show them with the elastic part closer to the shoe. This is because the elastic will stretch around your ankle, and if you sew them on the opposite way, you're really not having any stretch by your ankle. It'll just be the ribbon, and there's no point in even getting the ribbons if you're going to sew them on that way. Now, if you're using regular ribbon without any elastic, make sure to cut it into 4 equal pieces, 2 for each shoe. Make sure to singe the ends of both sides of the ribbon with a lighter or match to keep them from fraying. But just please be careful because this can be a little dangerous. Also, no matter what type of ribbon you get, make sure you check the finish. Usually one side is satin and the other is a little bit more dull. Make sure that the satin side faces outwards because when you tie it around your ankle, it'll look pretty and satiny. Now to attach it, make sure you place the ribbon about 1 inch away from the elastic and then sew along the seam just like before when we were sewing the elastics. When you sew, all you have to remember is sewing along the seam, making sure that your knot is on the inside, and making sure that you finish on the inside, tie off your knots, and clip the excess string. Sew the right ribbon, and then the left ribbon, and then repeat for the other shoe. And now that all of your ribbons are sewn on, congrats, your sewing is all done. Now, if you want to customize your shoes further, you can consider pancaking your shoes. Sometimes ballet companies prefer shoes without the shiny satin finish, or you might want the shoes to match your skin tone. Now, while more Pointe shoe brands are offering inclusive colors, you may not always find your perfect match right off the shelf. In that case, you can use calamine lotion or foundation to pancake your shoes. Now, I know foundation can be expensive, but I have an easy way around spending big bucks on this. You can easily get 2 tubes of foundation for less than $5 if you shop at a local dollar store. For example, in a photo shoot for my ballet book, 10 Ballet Stories, which you can find at Barnes & Noble, I pancaked my cousin's Pointe shoes with inexpensive foundation from the dollar store. Now to pancake the shoes, just use a sponge to apply an even layer of makeup or calamine lotion across the entire shoe, including the elastics and ribbons and the little drawstring. Just remember, Pointe shoes do not like moisture, so use the product sparingly and give your shoes plenty of time to dry before wearing them. Finally, how do you know which shoe is left and which shoe is right? Well, the fun part is you don't. Pointe shoes don't actually come pre-labeled, so I recommend trying them on after you do all your sewing and try to see which one feels better on each foot. Once you make a decision, mark a little L inside the left shoe with a pen, and from then on, always keep that shoe on your left foot and the other one on your right foot. Over time, the shoes will mold to your feet and essentially become left and right shoes, so you don't want to mix them up. And that's it, your Pointe shoes are ready to dance in. Now, of course, there are tons of other customizations that you can do, like darning your shoes, different methods to break them in. However, as beginners, I recommend you try to keep things as simple as possible and talk with your dance teacher in person about certain customizations that might be better for you. By the way, I'd love to know, what is everyone's first Pointe shoe brand? When I first started, I actually started wearing Block, and then I switched around to a few different brands and eventually landed on Grishko, which is now rebranded in the United States as Nicolay. But I feel like at the end of the day, we never forget what our first Pointe shoe was, and I'm really curious to hear. So yeah, let me know in the comments below, what is the Pointe shoe brand that you picked out at the store? I'm so curious. I'll be sharing some more beginner Pointe videos soon, so don't forget to hit the bell for notifications on those, and check out my other beginner ballet videos. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can go ahead and check out my book, 10 Ballet Stories, at Barnes & Noble, and also take a look at my website, swanlakelifestyle.com, for more fun resources and our blog, as well as to shop some ballet favorites. Thanks again for tuning in, take care, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!